Sexual harassment. Everyone's heard that term, but how much do you really know about it? More importantly, do you know what you can do to prevent it? My name is Layla Humble, and today I'm here to walk you through the history of sexual harassment and show you how understanding its roots can work to prevent it in the future. How many people do you think have experienced sexual harassment at least once in their life? If you said a lot, you'd be correct. But to be more specific, according to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, it was found in a nationwide survey that 43% of men and 81% of women have reported experiencing sexual harassment at least once in their life. I've experienced sexual harassment numerous times, so I know the damage it can cause. Sexual harassment is a serious issue, one that is not easy to solve. So, what can we do? I'm sure that you've heard of the saying, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. I believe in that message, and I believe in the reverse of it as well. That those who remember the past will scarcely repeat it. With that in mind, let's start with a brief history of sexual harassment. The roots of sexual harassment can be traced back centuries. Sexual coercion, a common form of sexual harassment, was extremely prominent in slavery. Enslavers treated slaves as property and objects, a power imbalance that they used to take advantage of enslaved women and force them into unwanted sexual situations. These instances did not go unnoticed. However, women would often be blamed for inviting these situations through their promiscuity. Rape was punishable by law, but the strict requirements for classification made it so that victims rarely got justice. Not only that, but also women who tried to speak out about their experiences with sexual harassment were largely shamed by the public, and these laws didn't provide any protection for enslaved people. When reflecting on the past of sexual harassment, the connections to sexual harassment as it exists today are crystal clear. We have seen huge improvements in laws and increased public support for victims of sexual harassment, but we still see so many of the same ideals and practices being carried into present day. Some of the most common places where sexual harassment is reported occurring remains to be workplaces and school. Power dynamics between higher ups and employees can create scenarios where the person in an authority position uses manipulation, threats, or other forms of coercion to take advantage of someone in a lower position, much like sexual harassment that was experienced by enslaved people over a century ago. History isn't only about things that happened hundreds of years ago, though. History is the everyday experiences of people like you and me. I mentioned earlier that I've had multiple experiences with sexual harassment, and those are all now part of my history and a part of sexual harassment history as a whole. I witnessed countless incidents of sexual harassment firsthand while attending Chico Jr. One example being a weekly tradition that was called Slap Ass Friday, which was exactly what it sounded like. I still remember the fear that me and my friends felt walking through the halls. We were in a constant state of alertness and anxiety that some boy would come up and try to touch us without our consent. We would hold our backpacks in the crooks of our arms instead of on our shoulders so they'd hang low enough to protect us. For a long time, we just accepted that. We laughed it off as a funny joke because that's all it was, right? No, of course not. But no one wanted to say that. No one wanted to look lame. No one wanted to be the one who couldn't take a joke. That's an issue, obviously. It's an idea that has been strung along for years, but we can stop the cycle. I believe that if we taught our kids the truth about sexual harassment and its history, we'd be able to prevent it from repeating itself. What we need is for schools to teach the history of sexual harassment just as we do the history of anything else. Ignorance is a dangerous road to go down, and many older people are too stuck in their ways to actually educate themselves about topics like this, which is why it would be most beneficial to target a younger demographic in order to make it as difficult as possible for people to become ignorant in the first place. I think it would also be good to create a club of some sort that can act as a safe space for students to speak out about their experiences and learn about other stories in a comfortable environment. Studies done by the National Library of Medicine showed that educating people about the history of sexual harassment and teaching them how to recognize and prevent it increased the likelihood that they would report incidents of sexual harassment and also make them less likely to sexually harass others. All of these actions would work to create a more open, accepting, and supportive environment for all students, and eventually a safer world. Not to mention, they don't require any large spending. All that would be required is adding extra units that address sexual harassment in history classes, which wouldn't add on any extra expenses. And as for the clubs, they would be student run, and all they would need to make them official is a teacher who's willing to volunteer some time after school for a good cause, something that I know many teachers would be willing to do. So, what are you going to do? Do you want to be the one to cause positive change in the world? Are you willing to take the next step and talk to your school's district superintendent? Do it. Be the one to inspire change. You have the ability to create a better, brighter future for the next generation. Thank you.